We're all foreigners down there where the mole people live. This is Felicity Was Here. Welcome back to Felicity Was Here. I'm Heather.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Dr. Joe.
And today we're discussing Felicity Season 2, Episode 4, The Depths. Hello, ladies. How's it going?
It's going.
Ready to go underground with the mole people?
Hell yeah.
I feel like I almost went into this episode fresh because I skip it so often when I do my rewatches that I kind of forgot a lot about it. And I think I might have a new appreciation for it. I still don't love conflict and fighting, obviously, but I might have a new appreciation, or at least I've seen some things in a different light that I don't think I appreciated before. So, and
right.
I'm looking forward to Joe's thoughts because I know you have a lot.
I do. I was sprinkling in my little notes here and I'm like, oh shoot, it's going to be a lot. This is going to be like a 3.5 hour long episode.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah.
If Todd Mulcahy gets 2 parts, then the depths can have 2 parts.
We might have to have a special after show bonus, just all the ramblings that we have to cut out because I'm going to go off.
That we'll do the director's cut.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Well, as a reminder, last week, Felicity dropped pre-med, much to Elena's displeasure, for her burgeoning art career. Felicity and Noel enrolled in the same art class and started to repair their friendship, while Noel took Felicity's advisee, Ruby, out on a date. Well, maybe date. And then Julie moved into the loft permanently with Ben and Sean. Not weird at all. So today's episode 4 of Season 2, The Depths, written by JJ and Madigan and directed by Michael Schultz, who also directed the Assassins episode. So he must be very good at directing conflict, because that was also a very, very tense episode.
It's true. Good eye there for that.
We open up with Felicity in her room, drawing her eye for art class when an advisee, Carl, he's the guy from a previous episode that I said had Ryan Seacrest in sync hair. So we now know his name is Carl, and he knocks on the door and comes in. He's complaining about his roommate, Chuck, because he overheard Chuck talking shit about him and his hygiene and that he eats his hair.
And he doesn't wash his clothes with detergent. And his roommate, Chuck, was talking to Chuck's friend, Larry. And if you will recall, there was a Larry in Season 1, played by John Cho. He was the one who...
His name was Larry?
Yeah, Lewis was the one who wanted to kill him. Or
Lewis. Yeah. I just didn't remember that
Larry was the one who was played by John Cho. He was the one who was scared of his roommate, Lewis. And I'm wondering, I think that would be really cool if Chuck was talking to that Larry. In the universe, I decided that that's what was happening.
Oh my God, he has another bad room.
Well, no, Chuck's got the bad roommate this time. Larry's not in the dorm. Right. He's I'm not dealing with that nonsense again, so we don't see him again. He's somewhere else living peacefully.
That's true. Yeah, so Felicity's oh yeah, that must suck. He's saying all these things that aren't true about you, but no, Carl says they're all true. He indeed eats his own hair.
That's a real thing. I know I didn't want to say the words out loud. I had texted Heather last week when I thought we were recording. I'm not saying anything about this because I'm literally throwing up in my mouth right now. The thought of that is the most disgusting thing. I would never, ever, ever be able to treat that population, unfortunately. But that's a real mental disorder.
People eat the foam out of their couch cushions and stuff.
All sorts of stuff.
That's a TLC. What's that show?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But
yeah, this specifically, it's trichophagia or trichophagia. But yeah. Trichotillomania is the one where they pull their hair, and trichophagia is, or trichophagia would be them eating it. And I would imagine they go hand in hand.
And
sometimes
he doesn't use soap and detergent and isn't clean. So
interesting little character here.
Yeah. Then Megan walks in, says hi to Felicity, sees Carl, says, "You're weird," in classic Megan tone. And Carl is now pissed that he's getting this reputation with his roommate, with Megan, and he doesn't really know how to channel this anger. So Felicity says to Carl, "Don't care what people think about you." Megan says, "Well, that's really rich coming from her, of all people." Felicity's wait, why? What are you talking about? Though we find out that Megan just came from Epstein, where Julie was playing in her open mic night and played a song called Felicity that basically divulged all of their juicy, juicy drama from the last year. That, she went on the road trip with Ben and hurt Julie in the process. Megan also says that the song says that the two of them started off as friends, found out that Julie liked Ben, and Julie sacrificed her happiness for Felicity, and just how she's like the worst person in the world. So as Megan's telling her this, Felicity's getting more and more angry. And honestly, I don't know that I've seen Felicity this mad before. This might be the maddest we've seen her.
I think so too. And I feel like since she got her hair cut, she's more bold. Like, I could not picture her with her longer hair having this kind of energy. Like, I don't think it would be congruent. She does seem like a different person with that haircut. She truly does.
Yeah, I feel like with the long hair, she might have been more weepy, like crying about it.
She looked like she's much younger. Yeah. She looks more mature this season with her new do.
So Felicity's getting more and more angry, and Megan starts to quote the song and says, oh yeah, this, and something, like forget the rhyme, it's something, slut of Washington Square Park. I died. And Felicity, of course, then leaves in her rage, and she's ready to fight Julie. But Carl is still there and saying like, yeah, maybe I'll just beat up my roommate. Megan says, yeah, go for it. More power to you. And Carl says, you know what? I think you're a better RA than Felicity. Megan says, yeah, I agree. I think so too. And then get out. That's Megan. So great. Again, hilarious cold open. Loved it. And it just, to me, feels right that Julie is slut shaming Felicity. Right? Calling her a slut, even though like she didn't even sleep with Ben and all. Like I was just like, that's so Julie. I don't know why, but it just fits.
That's so disproportionate. Yeah. So immature. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
It reminded me of a Boy Meets World episode where, what's the brother's name? Eric.
Yes.
He dates Shell. He dates crazy. Yeah, Shell.
I was gonna bring that up later.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
I was like, I feel like storyline in a lot of 90s shows where like somebody like slights someone and then they write a ridiculous song about them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the whole Larry, Carl, or I guess not Larry, Carl and Chuck situation reminded me of the Buffy episode where she goes to college and her roommate is like an actual demon, but it's like the toenails are clipping and just getting to her. So yeah, I thought of the Buffy episode too. So.
You're never going to believe this. I didn't think of a single 90210 reference for this entire episode because I was so deep into the...
And you watched it like 20 times.
Yeah, I did. Like, I really did.
Several characters who like played in a band or something, wasn't it? Like one of them was what was it? Donna's boyfriend Ray. Isn't he in like a
oh my gosh.
singer?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
Probably never wrote a ridiculous song about it.
No.
Anyway.
I'll keep on thinking on it.
So then Felicity tells Sally that Julie is basically out there playing songs about how evil Felicity is, and she never would, but she really wants to just punch Julie in the face. So Felicity heads to the loft to find Julie and confront her, but it's just Sean. Julie's not there, and Sean is whipping up a brand new condiment, and we've got the first reference of smoothies, people. So we'll get to the naming soon, but this is where it all began. So
origin story.
I did totally forget that like this was the episode where it came to be. So I guess it gets points for that. So he can, Sean can see that Felicity's upset. He says, oh, you heard about the song, huh? So then we jump to Felicity at Elena and Noel's apartment, and she's telling them that Julie's going around playing this mean song about her as entertainment for people. But Noel says, you haven't heard it. It might not really be that bad. And Felicity's, what? Like, not that bad. Like, Sean obviously assumed that it was the song that made me upset, so it's got to be bad. I was like, wow, like, I haven't seen you like this before. But I just got to say, Noel is so hot in this scene, in this episode. I think he had a real glow up in season 2. He's got his own little haircut happening, and, like, the baggy flannels are gone. Just chef's kiss. I thought he looked really cute. So then Felicity says, well, Noel, how would you feel if you found out that I was singing mean songs about you in public? And he says, well, I'd feel pity for the public because you can't sing. Which, again, thought that was cute and funny. So Elena mentions that a mean girl wrote a poem about her when she was in school, like Xeroxed it, passed it out, and, she was really embarrassed about it. She still to this day dreads it. It was called Stinky Girl. Poor thing.
Terrible.
Yeah. She's like, do you want to hear it? And I was like, no one wants to hear this.
His immediate no.
No, it's a no from
Shut
me,
it down.
dog. But Noel says that Felicity and Julie will make up. He says that if him and Felicity can do it, like surely her and Julie can. But Felicity says that it's different between them. She says, Julie and I were never the friends that you and I were, whatever. And I was like, that's interesting. But then also, like, why is she so upset about all of this? And why is Julie so upset about all of this? If, like, they were never the friend, like, she's right here admitting, like, oh, they were never the friend, like, the friends that me and Noel were. Like, Noel's my best friend or Elena's my best friend. So now I'm like, and why is everything so, such big drama if she's even admitting, like, we weren't as good of friends as even her and Noel?
Do you want an answer for that?
I mean, it could be rhetorical, or if you have thoughts, please share.
No, like, well, sometimes when I give you an explanation, you get mad about whatever the explanation is. I'm not saying this is a good thing or bad thing. It's just a thing. It could be a stranger. Like, if a stranger, that hoe over there stole your man, you'd get mad at her. Like, if you were the Julie in the situation, like, you'd get mad. That person doesn't need to be your best friend to be like, that fucking bitch. And if you were getting talked about by somebody, like somebody was talking shit about you and stinging about it in a big public space, like whether you knew that person or not, you'd not be happy about that. I don't think so. I don't think the friendship part is as relevant as their interpretation of the actions, not their interpretation of the relationship in the context of the actions.
It's the song that's the issue.
Yeah. So it's not like a betrayal. It's just like, if somebody was talking shit about me, I'd be out in the streets looking for them too. I wouldn't do anything violent because I'm too chicken shit and I don't agree with the violent stuff, but I'd be out there looking for them, be like, what the hell is going on here? Why are you singing about me?
I'd sick my lawyer on them.
Exactly. I have thoughts about that too later. I'm stunned by this whole thing.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting that Noel was like, if we can make up, you two can. And then she's saying, like, well, you and I are better friends. So does that make it easier to make up? I don't know. It was just, I was a little, confused.
Yeah. I think it makes it easier to make up, but it doesn't change, like, getting hurt the way they got hurt, whether you know that person or not.
So then Felicity gets up to leave and confirms with Noel that they're going to go to the Modern for art class. They have to go look at some exhibits, and Noel says that he invited Ruby. Felicity asks how they are. He's like, how we are? Like, we're fine. It's not like we're dating or anything. Felicity says, oh, yeah, no, I know. And I think she just meant like, oh, like, never mind. Yeah, I'll change the subject, whatever. Not that she actually knew something. But yeah, then Noel was like, wait, why? Did she say something? She's like, what? Nope, nothing, never mind. So then she leaves to go to class, and then they're going to meet at the Modern later.
Okay, here's my rundown. So when Noel was like, I'd feel sorry for the public because he can't sing. At first, I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, this boy plays too much. Like, their whole, when he was still being pissy at her, but then they were starting to mend things, and he was like kind of taking like little jabs. And at first I thought it was like that, but just even sitting here right now, I'm like, no, this is playful banter. They're friends again. Everything's great.
To me, it was more like, we're just friends, and this is like friendly
or like
banter.
Almost a brother and a sister teasing each other kind of banter.
Kind of like what's happening at the loft with those three. We got going over in this apartment with these three now. It's a little strange.
Some symmetry there. Yeah. And when she says, Julie and I were never the friends, blah, blah, the look on his face is like, oh, really? Like, he seems really delighted and proud of himself. Like, he won some sort of competition, or like he feels like he's got something over on Felicity now because she maybe feels more strongly about the friendship than he does. I don't know. His little face, he's like, oh, really?
I thought he was flattered.
Yeah. Flattered. He's a little bit too flattered sometimes, I think. Like, his ego, because of his insecurities, something like that would flatter him so much. I'm like, whoa, dude, like, calm down. I don't know. It was weird. It was whatever it was. The other thing that I found interesting, because this is all about different perspectives. So when she asks what the time is, and they have Lena and Noel have two different times, this is just another thing. Like, we're sitting in the same moment, but we're looking at it from different points of view. It's a little bit of a reach, but just the perspective can be different just from where you're sitting at. Like, them even looking at their watches, it's a different time for them, even though it's the same exact moment in space and time. I thought that was interesting. Also,
I love
if you don't like that reach, okay, you love it. Okay. If you didn't like that.
As like a metaphor, yeah.
Yeah, for the bigger, themes of the episode. But
Absolutely.
Also, a more superficial thing is just like the little banter between Elena and Noel. Like, they're just kind of like, not quite like as bad as like the Odd Couple kind of roommates, but like just like the little friction. but not malicious fiction, just like
Yeah.
like we're getting on each other's nerves. Again, like a brother and sister would get on each other's nerves. So also, Elena's studying for her thing, right? She's like, I'm just gonna be sitting here studying cyclohexane confirmations. And then Felicity's like, I don't feel sorry for you. Well, cyclohexane, you're never gonna believe this. I Googled it because I wanted to know what it was. Is anybody surprised though? Like, is anybody
No,
surprised that I looked
really
that up?
not.
Okay.
This is why this episode's going to be
Be
fun.
3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, 5, yeah.
I would actually have expected you to be like, and in episode 50 of 90210, they
Yeah.
also talked about
Cyclohexane.
beta carotene.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. I wish. I really wish. Anyway, it's a colorless, flammable liquid with a distinctive detergent-like odor. This was interesting because what's-his-face was talking about he doesn't wash his clothes with detergent. I was like, oh, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting coincidence, like that they specifically used that particular thing and they mentioned detergent. I'm like, was that an accident? Could it be? Or was that
There's
intentional?
no way.
Yeah,
It's
that's just
intentional.
I know, but that's so fascinating. I was so excited when I looked that up. I was like, dun, dun, dun. And the fact that when Felicity sang on her way out, I'm not sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for you. I'm like, her voice is amazing. Why would Noel say that she can't sing? Like, that was stupid. It wasn't even a good jab or a clever one because she can sing. That
Can
fool.
she? Because even like on Mickey Mouse Club, though, she
Well, I
was
was
like
gonna ask.
she was like a dancer. Like
She
I
more
think
of
she
a
got
dancer?
I think she got in because she was a good dancer. I don't know if she ever sang on the show.
Well,
have to
I
look it
couldn't
up.
sing. I like the way her voice sounded on her way out the door. And I can't sound like that, so I'm not going to repeat it. That's why it's
Just kind of
spoken word.
sing songy.
Yeah, I thought she
Okay.
sounded great. I was like, no, you fool. That's all I've got to say about this segment. Let's go. Let's move on.
Melissa, any comments?
I can't top that detergent. Wait, no.
Yeah, it's time.
It's like the Jimmy Fallon, Justin Timberlake, Barry Gibb talk show. It's like, do you have anything else? No, I don't. Oh man. So we skip to Felicity now heading to the Modern to meet with Noel and Ruby. And she gets to the subway, sits down, and of course, who gets in the same subway car and sits down right across from her but Julie. And they just kind of look at each other. And then I see Felicity rolls her damn eyes so big and like she's pissed, which is again, it's just very interesting. I feel like this is the most annoyed and angry we've ever seen her. And that scene right there, it was like, oh, fuck. Like this chick is sitting across from me.
So when she was walking to the subway and she was talking to Sally, she's just like, oh, I'm going to meet him later at the Modern and I'm going to meet Noel and apparently Ruby. The little apparently was kind of suspicious because I was like, maybe she is a little bit jealous, even though I was saying she wasn't last time.
I was just, yeah.
But it still doesn't feel like, I feel like there's a better word than jealous, and I haven't looked that word up yet, but if you have any suggestions, I'm open to hear them. I feel like jealous is almost too strong, but it's in the neighborhood. It's in that spectrum of jealousy.
It might be a little strong right now. I think it's just because, like, there's still a lot unresolved. I mean, clearly she still had feelings for Noel at the end of last season. I mean, she was telling Sally, like, who could say no to a trip with the guy you love, who's your almost boyfriend, like going to Berlin, blah, 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 right? So obviously she still had strong feelings for him. She just chose a different route. And I think maybe that's unresolved. They're getting their friendship back. Like, I don't even think she would think that they would be in a place where you could even explore something romantically. So, like, that's not even an option. But I think, yeah, like you see an ex start dating someone that you know, I think things come up, feelings come up, and she sees him being cute with Ruby, and maybe that reminds her of when things were cute between them. I don't know. Yeah. Apparently, I thought was interesting too, because we chatted at the end of last week. Like, do we think she was jealous in that moment? We're like, I think it's more just like, okay, moving on.
I think that jealousy is not the right word. You're trying to think of another word, Dr. Joe. And I think maybe just envy or envious of like that new relationship energy or just like the excitement of starting to date. So I don't think she's necessarily jealous, maybe just like envious of the situation in general.
Yeah, or like wistful.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Reminiscent, nostalgic. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that makes sense. So then we go to Dean and Deluca, where Ben is working, and he sees a blonde woman on a cell phone outside, and he starts smiling his little smile. I guess he's into the look of her, just a lady talking on the cell phone outside. And And that woman is Terry Polo from Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers. And I think the Fosters on ABC Family / Freeform, I think. I never watched the show.
Slash
I never.
Freeform.
They rebranded at some point. But yeah, I remember when she joined the show, like I thought that was a big deal because she was on like the huge Meet the Parents movies. So she gets off the phone. She eventually comes in to Dean and Deluca and barks at Ben that she needs 125 brownies by 5 p.m. Can you handle that? She's a very, very busy and powerful working woman in New York City, obviously. So Ben responds, is like, can I handle that you love brownies? Like, yeah, I think I can handle that.
I know.
So,
What a dork. And he smiled. He was so pleased with his little joke.
of course. Yeah.
That works on college girls, Ben, not on business ladies.
Not on real adult women.
Just
yeah.
gonna say, I'm like, he has to do his little I'm so charming thing. And yeah, she's very busy. She doesn't have time for that. So she explains that she's a caterer and her baker had an aneurysm or something. I don't know if that was real or she just means that he failed her. But she's like, and I need these brownies for a CD release party, which I think is hilarious. Like, it's a CD release party, which kids, that's like music. And she's gonna serve brownies at this like swanky or like hip, cool music event. Like, I need, here's your tray of brownies from Dina DeLuca.
Well, that's her backup.
That'd be like Starbucks cake pops at like an event in this time. Like, what?
Yes. Oh, that'd be amazing. Those are
like,
good.
I know they are.
Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie premiere. Here's your tray of brownies. Come on. No.
Well, that's because her baker didn't come through. That wasn't her first choice. That was her backup and a pinch choice.
I don't know.
So that's the only reason why it could make sense that she'd be like, I'm just gonna like go around the corner of the nearest like place that has brownies and yell at the dude that works there.
I don't know. I still feel like she should have connections in the industry that could do better than brownies, but
I was suspicious of this whole scenario as well. I was really like, writers do better.
Yeah.
This is another one of those points where I was kind of disappointed. Like, this is a little contrived, but okay, I'll go with it.
They're meet cute, I guess.
It's adorable.
So she's got no time for Ben's shenanigans, though, and she's just like, can you do it or not? Javier's down in the basement, so he's got to check with Javier, calls Javier. But now Ben's more annoyed instead of charmed. In the beginning, he was like, oh, who's that cute blonde woman outside? And now he definitely looks more annoyed than charmed at her. And he says, yes, we can surely get you those brownies, stat.
I'm just wondering, have we ever seen him this cheesy and goofy at any other point in the show?
No.
Like, that was so fucking dorky. I mean, obviously, I loved it. I'm just like, who is this Ben? Like, where did he come from? What is this? But I don't know, maybe he got thrown off because she's like an older woman or something, like a whole adult, and it just like made him like a weird dork. I don't know. It's so funny.
It's the same thing as like Hannah and Felicity when they try and like made her look really immature next to her, like with her zit cream and stuff. They really play it up that Ben's like younger than her. He's a doofus. Yeah.
He's a boy. Yeah.
It was cute. Like, I would have fallen for it,
and
but it was cute.
Also, I think we would call this an overcorrection. Like, he just got out of something with a very serious girl, and now he's like, I can just be goofy and silly and stupid. I don't know, maybe. Like, I don't have to talk about why I listened to your tape and all that. I can just joke about you liking brownies. I don't know.
I'm here for it. I want more of this, Ben. I don't care. I'll take any Ben I can get.
I had no doubt.
Yeah.
So then back on the subway, with Felicity and Julie, some dude comes in selling probably stolen goods, right? Is that a fair assessment?
They're discounted goods. What do you mean stolen?
Okay. Rolex watches we've got. Kazoos and what is it? Harmonicas. He's got everything. But of course, Felicity just can't leave things alone with Julie. She gets up, plops down next to Julie, and asks her if she got the message that she stopped by. Julie's like, yep. She's like, okay. It's like, well, were you gonna call me back? Nope. Nope. Is this how you're gonna talk to me forever? Yep. She's like, fine. So Felicity gets up, goes back to the other seat. She tells Sally that she really only had 4 stops to go, but then the subway stops very abruptly. Power goes out. Lights do flicker back on, but they're completely stopped, and the conductor starts mumbling some stuff, which was basically just like, remain calm is all Felicity heard. And Felicity says that it will have turned into the weirdest day of her life. And I just added so far because Ha ha ha.
There's-
Plenty weird days to come, Felicities. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was about to turn into the weirdest day of her life.
Two things. I feel like the trench coat salesperson was so much hotter like in the 90s and 80s. I feel like I never see that now. I feel like I saw that all the time. And the clearest example of that I have in my head is Coming to America, when the kids stole their stuff and then he's like trying to sell them back their own stuff out of their coat. I thought that was great. But it was also very jarring when the train stopped. It was so jarring, and there was like an electricity sound and like the blue lights were flickering, and it felt like in the movies when like something really big happens, like when like the mom and the daughter switch bodies or something. Like it just felt like something shifted, like the
Lightning
electricity and the
strikes and-
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the crackling sound of the lights flickering. It was, yeah, like something's up, like something's about to happen. Like the energy really shifted. I thought that was really cool. And I noticed, and I'll just give you a spoiler right now. It doesn't matter. But to anybody who's going to watch this after they listen to us,
I mean, it's fair to say, spoiler alert for the entire episode.
No, I know. But just like to keep your ears open, the soundtrack, every time they're in the subway scenes, is like a really odd sound. It's like a pulsating, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a warbled, like it's like blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I can't do it. Like it's like, but it feels like pressured and stressful to listen to it. It's not pleasant at all. It feels like it's almost like a heartbeat, but worse. Like it sounds more stressful than a heartbeat. Like it's like this, I don't know, like this little humming, thrumming in the background. It's weird. But I heard it every time. And I thought I'm like, oh, is there something wrong with my TV, or is like something going on around me in my house? But I double checked, and it was like, no, it only happens in the subway scene. So the soundtrack gets really like pressured and eerie and gross when they're in the subway. So maybe that contributed to some of your tension that you've experienced in the past when you've seen it, because the atmosphere is yucky when they're in there.
Interesting point. And that's why I hate the episode. Okay.
Aw. They did their job.
They did, yeah. They made it uncomfortable.
Total fumble on the catering thing, but totally nailed the composition and the score.
Yeah. That's the comic relief. You know, we need the comic relief in the episode.
Yeah.
So then coming back from commercial break, we get the timestamps that we know and love, at least that I love, from the episode Finally, when they're in the library and it's countdown to finals. Now we've got the timestamps of how long they are trapped underground. So it's 2:36 p.m. and they've been 1 hour underground. So Felicity brought her mirror and sketch pad and everything with her, and is sketching, looking at her eye in the mirror and sketching for her assignment. And there's a bald guy. I wish I didn't look up all their names. Maybe they don't have names.
I
course
did.
you
Oh,
did.
you did. So what's bald guy's name? I'm sorry, I should
Oh,
have.
his real name?
I'm a
His real name?
no, the character. Otherwise, I'm just gonna call him
Lauren?
bald guy. Okay.
His name's Lauren, Loren. I gotta pull up my notes app. Hold on, because I did look them up. Because I went a little bit
Damn.
buck wild on this episode. I don't know why.
I like it.
Probably because you said you hated it. I was probably on a mission to be like, no, she's gonna love it.
Oh, Lord.
You're like, oh, well, one of us is gonna have to talk.
Well, that, and I just wanted to convert you.
And it's just like you got to do whatever the opposite of what I think. You got to like, oh no, I love this episode. You got to keep the tension.
Sure.
So Lauren, I guess, this bald guy, asks if this is normal for the subway because he just moved to New York City and he looks very nervous about this. And this bootlegger vendor guy, now he's coming in. He's got a new deal on his items. We're not going anywhere. We're stuck here sale. And bald guy keeps freaking out. He's like talking about poisonous gas and how this happened in Japan or something. And like the only reason people survived is because they started panicking and running away. And oh man, if I was in that car with him, that would make me freak out too. So he is intense.
He kind of reminded me of Noel. Like,
Listeners, it's been nice knowing you all. This is Heather signing off.
sorry. No, because you know how he gets kind of like freaked out sometimes, and he gets a little bit like
When he's
anxious
on
and hyper
beats.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It
When
reminded
he eats beets.
Well, yeah, but that's the energy that it reminded me of. Like when
Okay.
he gets a little bit like
He
a
gets
little
hyper.
bit
He gets
too
really hyper.
jazzed up. Yeah.
Okay.
And the condition to be a polite thing, because he had that whole, like, I'm just going to have no filter thing. But this is like the default mode is that condition to be polite thing. That's why it reminded me of him a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm not saying it's like a stand-in for Noel. Just
I'm sure. Okay. So then the salesman approaches Julie, says, hey, musician, I've got something for you. He's got a harmonica. Julie says no thanks, but he keeps badgering her. So Felicity's gotta be the hero. She jumps in, says, hey, she said she doesn't want it. So he eventually backs off and leaves, and Felicity sits down next to Julie and tells Julie that she heard about her song. Julie says, what song? I'm like, come on,
please.
come on. We all know what song we're talking about here. So Felicity says that Julie's got to understand why she's upset, singing about what a monster she is to everyone. But Julie says that she hasn't heard it. And Felicity says, well, I think I've got a pretty good idea what it's about. Julie says, actually, you have no idea. And anyway, that's how I express my anger through music, because she's an artiste. She's expressing her anger. And I love this. Felicity says, oh, so this is you after you've dealt with your anger? And I just, that was really good. And
Just wait.
And while Felicity and Julie are starting their little fight here, we jump to the modern where Ruby and Noel are waiting for Felicity. They're hoping she's okay, but they're like, oh, what time is it? So Noel looks at his watch. Ruby says she likes it. He says it's a new G-Shock he got off the internet. She says, oh, so you're like a real geek. And I'm like, what about that was geeky? I'm like, because he bought a watch?
He bought it off the internet.
Is it because he was doing online shopping?
Yeah.
The internet.
Off the internet, yes.
That man was ahead of his time. And I was like, yeah, I like to online shop. And I was like, he knows what's good.
I did love that it was a G-Shock, though, because those were like remember the baby ones for the girls? Like, those were all the rage. But yeah, she thinks he's such a nerd because he bought a watch off the internet. So he's really embarrassed right away. But then she says, no, like, don't be embarrassed. Guys with smooth hands. Like, what are you talking about? She says that the roughness of a man's hands, like, tells a lot about his place in the modern world. She says back in the day, the most powerful men had the roughest hands, but now in society, that has all changed. And she's like holding his hand, kind of like palm reading looking. And so they're having a little bit of a moment. I guess that's a compliment to him that, like, now you're a powerful man because you have smooth hands or something. I didn't quite get the connection there, but
like a catch. I don't know.
Okay.
Something.
So then they decide that they're just going to go into the exhibit and Felicity can catch up if she gets there. So then back on the subway, Felicity tries to talk to Julie again. She tells Julie she's sorry, she didn't mean to hurt her, etc. But she says that playing that song in a bar where mutual friends hang out, that it's got to be passive aggressive or something. Julie's like, what? No, it's not. And Felicity says, no, you're right. It's aggressive. I thought that was another good line. Because, it's not really passive aggressive. It's just downright aggressive. So Julie then pulls the it's free speech argument, because that absolves everything. Felicity says that she would just prefer it if she didn't advertise their history to everyone. But meanwhile, all the other subway passengers are starting to notice their argument because they are, in fact, airing their history to the public. And Julie says, why do you care so much? Like, why do you feel so guilty about this? Then the conductor comes on the loudspeaker, mumbles some more, and the vendor comes back in and says that he heard what really happened. They hit someone. Bald guy, because he's freaking out. He's wondering if it was suicide and that this guy must have been really depressed. But the vendor says that it was probably a mole person. And the car's like, a what? So yeah, there's a whole society down there. What you call darkness, they call home. He says that all these people, they're all foreigners down there where the mole people live.
So a couple things I noticed here with the boundary setting. My buzzword is boundaries. That Felicity set that on Julie's behalf with the vendor. He's credited as vendor, by the way.
The subtitles say vendor, so I switched to vendor instead of bootlegger. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, good. I think it's interesting that Felicity had to do that for her, or she didn't have to, she chose to, but that guy wasn't listening to her, because I feel like, and I can't name the other stuff, like other, obviously, than the essay, I feel like there's been other examples in the show up to this point where Julie has said no and somebody's not listened to her. And like she's said it multiple times and somebody's not listened to her.
I mean,
Like I
yeah.
said, not just that, like other things too. So that was interesting. And that whole free speech thing, I think that's a little bit of a reach for her because in my mind, I was like, yo, you're going to get sued for slander, bitch.
Exactly.
Like that's
Like I
illegal. Like I really was
Well,
surprised
only
that
if
didn't
it's
come
not
up.
true.
You know what though? I don't think that's what I thought, but I was Googling that too. I think it has to do though if it's like it's a defamation of character type of thing. Like if it's like causing Felicity problems, whether it's true or not, like you can't talk shit about somebody like she potentially couldn't. I think like, you know, like say like one of her professors hears and like she fails her because she heard this song and thinks Felicity's like a monster or something. I don't know. That would be also a big problem and probably illegal too. But I was just I think it's writing the line there between free speech and slander, and I was just curious and like maybe you should do a poll.
Yeah.
Like is it
Well,
free
and
speech or is it
also,
slander? I think it's a fine line.
even if it is free speech, sure, doesn't
Mhm.
mean it's right. You know, like yeah,
Well,
you
yeah, there's
can
that.
say whatever you want. Doesn't mean it's right.
But I'm talking about a lawsuit. I'm not talking about morals. I'm talking about
I'm talking
I
about
wanna sue
morals
her.
though.
Yeah. I don't care about that. I don't care
Oh.
about that. That's not in my sphere.
Yeah,
I
when
don't
she
care.
said that, it's like, oh, the free speech argument. Like, yeah, technically, you're not like breaking a law. Unless, I mean, maybe Joe, you're arguing she is or she could be, but it's like that still doesn't make it a good thing to do or an okay thing to do on your part, Julie.
Yeah.
But
She could have
yeah.
just changed
Totally
the
not
name,
okay.
made up some other name, but still use the same words and whatever.
She
Yeah.
could have done that. Yeah, it could have just been implied, and then she'd have no case. Felicity would have no case of Santa and be like, I didn't use her name. Like, she's just assuming it's her because she is a fucking slut. Like, see,
Yeah.
it's right there.
It could be just called
would've
the
been
slut
great.
of Washington Square Park, but yeah.
Yeah, and then who would know unless you draw attention and be like, stop singing that song about me. But like, who said it was about you? You
Yeah.
just said it was about
So
you.
you're calling
you dumb
yourself a
bitch.
slut.
Exactly. That's how you can pull an old switcheroo. Julie, you fool.
I thought it was interesting too. That was just like an episode or two ago where she was telling Ben, like, I have way more things going on in my life than you and Felicity. And yes, it doesn't. Well,
consume me.
this is
Yeah.
like totally showing that it consumes you if you're singing this song every single night. Like, bitch.
Yeah, doing encores, singing it twice.
I will say though, I mean, yeah, I think it's shitty. However, she would fit right in with with like the latest generation of singer like Taylor Swift. Like she is gonna capitalize the crap out of Heartbreak and she's gonna make that money and do all the like songwriting and then everyone's gonna pick apart all the hints and oh, is this Jake Gyllenhaal? Is that Harry Styles? Like Julie was ahead of her time in that sense because yeah, they're all doing that now. Olivia Rodrigo, Sabrina Carpenter. It's always like, oh, this is the latest gossip in so-and-so's song that just came out. So, but yeah, none of them call it like, this song is called Harry
name,
Styles. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, you got to be a little slick, dude. Come on. I would have respected that a lot more.
So then back at Dean and Deluca, Sean is sitting down with Ben, brainstorming names for his new condiment. Sean says, how about smoothies? Ben says, smoothies? Smoothies? That's terrible. And Sean says, okay, well, what about mustard? Like the first person who invented mustard, what if they said like, oh, what do you think about mustard? Like you'd say that that sounds stupid too, which fair point. Like the first time you say any word, it probably sounds weird. But Ben's like, well, what else do you have? And Sean offers his other ideas, which include fat-tastic, must ooze, lard spread, wasabi goose, spicerio, and zestrika. So Ben's like, okay, yeah, smoothies is the least terrible, I suppose. But also I thought it was weird, like must ooze, like mustard, like all of these still include like a condiment that already exists. Like he should think up something that's completely brand new. Like zestrika is paprika, right? Wasabi goose. And also, is all of that stuff in this condiment? Is there mustard, mayonnaise, lard, wasabi, spice, paprika? Like,
I was wondering that.
ew.
It must be.
I assumed that it was mayonnaise mixed with something else.
It looks
Yeah.
Thousand Island-ish. It's like a pinkish
Mhm.
mayonnaise-y. Yeah.
It reminds me of that bitchin' sauce. Have you seen that? I've seen it at Costco. Bitchin' sauce. It's like that Thousand Island color, and it's like got a little kick to it.
Like special sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the high-powered caterer comes back and needs 1 billion cookies now in 15 minutes. and asks Ben, "Did you understand that?" Which is so fucking condescending. And Ben finally pushes back. He cuts his cutesy act and is like, "Look, like, I understand you've got some issues, but like, don't talk to people that way, especially when they're on their break," which he's on his break. And he says, and like, "Okay, Maggie, like, and I know your name's Maggie because you shoved your credit card in my face the other day. Like, I'm Ben. This is Sean." Like, he starts to just set her straight. So after listening to him, she does sit down and she finally asks nicely, "Okay, I need cookies," or whatever. And he then, yeah, gets up and does his little smile again and walks away to go get that cookie order. And Sean asks Maggie what she thinks of smoothies. And he does this little hand motion. He's like, "Smoothies." Like, it was just, I actually thought that was very, very funny from Greg Grunberg. It was a, yeah, funny hand motion with his smoothies.
I
Smoothies.
appreciated
Yeah.
that as well. I really like that. I love the boundary that Ben set. I loved him standing up for himself. Another great example of boundary setting here. And I like that he said, I thought cookie crisis was a cute little phrase, but I also like, he said, "I don't mind you freaking out as long as you're polite about it." And I think that's so relatable because in my therapy session, sometimes people get pretty heated about whatever it is. And they apologize. I'm like, "You're not yelling at me. You're just yelling." Like, I can handle that. Like, if you're not directing at me, I can take it all day. Like, it's not a big deal. So I thought that was kind of, yeah, that was really relatable for me. I like that.
So then back in the subway, Felicity tells Julie, back to what Julie was saying, that she's not guilty, that Felicity's tried to call her and to talk to her, and Julie just won't talk to her. She says instead she has to hear what Julie's thinking through Megan, of all people. And she apologizes. She says she's sorry that she went with Ben. Julie says, "What do you mean you're sorry?" Felicity says, "I know I hurt you, and I hate that." And I wanted to pause there because that's not really sorry or like an apology. It's like, I know I hurt you and I hate that that happened, but it's like, that right there, I wasn't too cool on because it wasn't like a
Mm-hmm.
full, I should not have done that or, trying to make it better. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, I know I did that and I hate that that is what happened as a result, but it's like, but you did that to her. So then Julie asks her if she'd do it again. But apparently Felicity paused for too long. Didn't seem like that big of a pause, in my opinion. But apparently that was too long of a pause. And Felicity says that if Julie and Ben were still dating, she wouldn't have gone. Julie says, "No, don't justify it. Like, you knew how I felt and you still went with him." Felicity says, "Yeah, after you told Noel what you heard." Julie says, "Well, yeah, which is that you were going to go with Ben." Felicity says, "We never decided that." Julie says, "Because I walked in on you as you were about to kiss him, and I'm not going to forgive you for that." And Felicity says, "The last thing I wanted to do was hurt you." And Julie says, "No, the last thing you wanted to do was the right thing." Felicity says, "Sometimes the right thing isn't an easy answer." And then finally, another passenger chimes in and tells them to shut the fuck up. He's like, "What? She stole your boyfriend? What? She hurt your feelings?" Or like, "No, she borrowed your favorite jacket without permission." The last thing, I thought that was a little condescending. There were a lot of condescending comments in this episode. But he says, "Open your eyes. These aren't problems. These are luxury items. Like, do you know where I was going today? I was trying to get a loan so that my family can eat. So shut your mouths. I'm tired of hearing about your frills." And a blonde lady with some glasses, maybe also another high-powered working woman in New York, she says that she knows what he's talking about because she saw Rent.
Well, she also knew about the mole people because Diane Sawyer did a segment
Yes.
on it. So she knows a lot of
She's
things.
What's her
very
name?
She's
Do you know
taking
her
it
name,
all
Dr.
in.
Joe?
Let's see. That one was harder to find because she didn't have a picture on her IMDb profile. And
What about the lone guy?
He's credited as Man on Train.
Oh, that's sad. The bald guy
But the
got a
lady-
name, but the lone guy didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the other people, oh my gosh, a lot of them got names except for a couple of them.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Because they didn't use anyone else's names. Like,
Well,
it's not like
yeah,
the
the one
characters
guy
said
says
their
his
names.
name.
Yeah.
The one guy did, the nasty guy that you didn't get to yet. He did introduce
Him,
himself.
Yes.
And
he was in
lawyer,
it
too.
less. He was in the episode less than everyone else.
I know.
So anyway, then an older woman chimes in and says that problems are relative, which is fair. She says, "A broken heart can be even more painful than a broken rib." And that's my angsty away message of the week. because
Her name is Mimi.
Mimi. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute. Little grandma Mimi.
She's credited as Mimi.
Aw, okay, I'm gonna say that Mimi. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's real though. That's real.
I was gonna say I wanted to pause here because there's a lot in this scene, so I wanted to pause. Go ahead.
Yes, I wrote about the thing. Let's see, the problems are relative. That does come up in therapy a lot. A lot of people kind of be like, well, it could always be worse. And it's just like really minimizes their own experience and invalidates their own experience. It's like, yeah, that doesn't make your thing not a thing though. Like you're still experiencing it and it's still painful for you. So what does that have to do with anything that it could be worse? So I think that's really important for people to remember.
Well, and I don't think either of them were also saying like, "Hey, guy, my problems are harder than your." Like they were just talking amongst themselves. They're in a fight, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, they weren't doing that. It's just a thing that people do in
Yes.
general. And I do think it was a long pause when she
Oh, you think
said,
so?
you know, would you do it again? She didn't. If it really was, I would have been like, oh my God, no, I would never. No, I wouldn't do that again. That was terrible. She just sat there and stared at her. Like there was no, like her mouth wasn't even opening to say yes or no. Like she just sat there like a dweeb.
She was like, "Yeah, I'd go again."
Heck yeah, she was.
She totally would, which I think is interesting too, because she was like, oh, like last episode, she's like, oh, I made a mistake. Like she was
Mhm.
giving off that vibe, but now, like, would you do it again? And she's like, maybe I might could. Yeah, hell yeah. Like, you know, it's like, oh, where are you standing on this really? Because like last week it was a mistake. Now it's like, maybe I would.
Mhm.
I don't know. She's funny.
I don't think we really determined that she was implying last week that it was indeed a mistake, though.
I think it was more like getting Noel to realize, even if I told you that it was a complete mistake, like, would you feel
Yeah.
any better? Like, I don't think she was actually admitting, but it's just like getting him to realize, like, it's not gonna, no matter what I say, it's not gonna make you feel better. Like, it still happened. And
There is
Yeah.
that, but I think she felt like she fucked up a little bit when Noel was being nice to her again. And I was like, no, that still wasn't a good thing either. So it's okay. You can change your mind, which is fine. You know, she's allowed to have mixed feelings about both of them. So it is whatever. It was just, I thought that was a contrast because to me, she seemed more regretful or something about it last time. But now she's like, like she didn't
Mhm.
immediately say, no, I wouldn't go. It was a long pause. I think it was a really heavy long pause, a pregnant pause.
pregnant. Yeah, for me, the back and forth, like, a lot of times I can see both sides of things, and I can see why she would be upset because, yeah, she was in the loft with Ben talking about going on this trip, and Felicity would be like, oh, we hadn't decided. It's like, well, you had decided, but then Julie found you. You know, like, I can still see some of these things, like why Julie would be upset and just not like the levels that Julie has taken this to now. And also then she starts to exaggerate. That starts to get annoying. But yeah, I also feel like Felicity's apology isn't really an apology either. It's just like, oh, I hate that I hurt you. Like, well, yeah, but you did this and you knew it would. So just own it at that point. So yeah, there was a lot of back and forth, and I don't know. Yeah, it'd be hard to see them coming back from this, which I feel like is why I never really liked this episode, because it's just like, ugh, like they're not seeing eye to eye on any of this, and it's uncomfortable.
That's juicy.
Yeah. So then Lauren, the bald guy, he says that he's on some pills now, and he's siding with Julie. He says she was betrayed. And then a lawyer jumps up and says that basically, just like any trial, they need all the facts. So Julie tells them that she was mad, she wrote a song about it and performed it in public. So the lawyer says, well, the first thing that we would need to do in a trial is to play the song for the jury. And then one of the other passengers, I think his name was JD. I think that's what he was
That's
credited
right.
as. It was a familiar face to me, and I totally forgot that he was in this episode. But the actor's name is Ty Hodges, and he tells them, like, yeah, play that song. We want to hear that song. And any other millennial nerds like me will recognize him from Disney Channel because he was on Even Stevens and the great Disney Channel original movie,
Scary.
Don't Look Under the Bed,
So
which I
scary.
love to watch. It is scary.
Also,
I've
never heard
You've
of
never
either
heard
of
of
those.
Even
Wait, you've never heard of
Okay.
Even
No, even
Stevens?
Steven.
Oh.
Even Stevens, yes. But not the
How
Don't
have
Look
you
Under the
not
Bed. I'm like,
seen that?
what
Come
are
on,
you
you
saying
love
about?
spooky stuff.
For kids,
Well, maybe I'll have to watch it.
it's
tonight.
creepy.
Yeah.
If you have Disney Plus, it's on Disney Plus. It's a ridiculous movie. but I love it. I don't know why. I think I had probably a crush on him when I was younger because
I'll watch it
he was
tonight.
very funny. And even on
I'll watch
Even
it tonight.
Stevens, like when him and Ren would go at it, there was some sexual tension for middle schoolers.
Ooh,
Yeah.
oh my.
Yeah, he was cute.
Well, that's going to be our next podcast. The movie Don't Look Under the Bed
no.
for spooky season. We'll release a bonus episode.
Oh my God, that would that would be amazing. I love that movie.
I'll do it. I love me some spooky season.
It was another one of those movies that I like recorded on a VHS tape and we would rewatch over and over
Really?
and over again.
I'm surprised at you.
So yeah, I wish he had a bigger role in this episode, but he's there. So Julie says fine. She gets out her guitar and says the song is called Felicity. And in the travesty of all travesties, we don't get to hear the song.
Gosh, couldn't we have just heard like a few lines?
We heard them from Megan.
We heard a
Yeah.
couple of like oohs and ahs at the end. And this is where I was going to bring up Boy Meets World because we heard the song in that show and it was great. And I was really hoping that we would hear like a screamo, emo Julie, like being angry. Like I just wanted to hear what that would be like. And I was really disappointed we didn't get to hear it.
We should ask ChatGPT to write the song for us, giving it some of the, lyrics that Megan was talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
Some background info. Yeah. Some really solid prompts and then I'll come up with that.
So then we see it's 4:11 p.m. It's now 2.5 hours underground. Julie finishes her song, which we don't get to hear. Mimi asks if Felicity really stole her boyfriend. Felicity says they were broken up. And Larry Beale, who is that JD guy, Larry Beale from Even Stevens, says that, like, well, then what are you bitching about if they were broken up? And Julie says that the body wasn't even cold yet. The blonde lady, I don't know, Karen, shall we call her? She says
it might be. It might be Karen. That might actually. Yeah, I'll find out now.
It's like, no, wait, it is Karen. She says that it's sad, two friends torn apart by a man. So then the lawyer has a line of questioning. And he brings up that Julie has forgiven and moved in with Ben, and yet she can't forgive her supposed best friend. And Felicity's like, yeah, what's up with that? I was like, yeah, fair question. You're living with your ex-boyfriend, and now you're like, well, have a happy family.
That's fucked up. Oh. On IMDb, this episode's one of the top rated ones. It's highlighted in yellow. Top rated.
Really?
Wow. 8.2 out of 10. I was when I was Googling this up, like looking into all the stuff, it's like in one of those top something episodes of the show too.
Only if we heard the song. Then I would bump it up in my ranking.
You'd be okay with everything.
So then we go back to the modern, and Noel and Ruby are chatting about a time that Noel had like a burger eating contest with his friend and threw up all these burgers. And so then Ruby asks him if he wants to go get burgers or maybe some other food. And I know it was like a super quick scene, not much happened, but the lighting and the setting and everything was just so quiet and pretty. And it was just like a very intimate scene. Like we were actually watching just like this little conversation on a date. And it reminded me of one of my favorite movies of all time, Before Sunrise. Have you all seen that? Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy? No?
I don't think I watched it. I know what it is, though. This is one of those things that I haven't done, and I'm ashamed to admit it now.
No.
Please, everyone, go watch the whole trilogy if you haven't seen it. But it's just like them chatting, sharing stories, walking around. Like, yeah, they'll go to a museum, they'll go get some food. Like, and I wanted to follow their little date in the museum and like have more of that in the episode because it just was such a intimate moment, and I loved it. But I'm sure Dr. Joe will be here to rain on my parade and tell me why it sucked.
Bitch, I was going to tell you that
that you should never bring up vomiting on a date because you're the devil if you do that.
Dumb. No, actually, our good friend Kurt from the Strange Sessions podcast and I were discussing this particular scene he was struck by, and I went and rewatched it after he pointed it out. The lighting, we did agree, the lighting was very good. I like that this lighting, it was not the usual warm glow, like warm yellowish glow. It was bright. It was like a bright white. And Kurt was kind of, well, yeah, he pointed out in us saying like, it feels like a fresh start, like a new beginning. Like it's like white, pure, innocent, like untainted. Like this is just a totally fresh start for Noel and Ruby to go forward. And then they do. They walk off frame and they go do their lives together.
Nice.
I love that, today. Kurt. Thank you for sharing. Yes, I thought the lighting. Like, you still get their silhouettes, but yeah, it was like a bright daylight, not this like hazy
Well, it's also
yellowy
probably
warm
like to
glow.
juxtapose like the underground scenes, like it was dark and creepy, and then
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And it felt like, were they kind of high up? Like, it looked like they could have been on a second floor because it looked like the sky was behind them.
I've never
like,
been to
not
the
like,
Modern, so I don't know if
and that's
they
what
actually
I
filmed
was
there.
wondering.
And yeah, like, is there an overlook somewhere? But when they started to walk away, you did see that there were some other paintings or things up. So I didn't know if that was just, in the studio somewhere or if that was actually at the Modern. But so then it's 5:15 p.m., 3.5 hours underground now. And Felicity tells Sally that she doesn't know if it was cabin fever or just being stuck with all these weirdos underground, but now they're all picking apart their friendship. Larry Beale from Even Stevens says that Felicity liked Ben for years. So, Julie, why are you so surprised she went with him? Fair. Karen, the blonde lady, says that she went back to her friends. This part I was a little confused by, but she says that she went back to her friends that she knew before college, and they're still her friends today. And Julie said that it's not like that for her. I didn't understand because, like, Felicity and Julie weren't friends before college. So I was like, I didn't understand why this lady was bringing up her friends that she knew before college. Did you guys get
I think she
that?
was saying, like, their friends, like, your friends from high school are better than, like, the stupid friendship you have in college, like, so don't bother with it. Like, not that extreme, but I felt like she was saying, like, you know what, your high school friends are more valuable, like, just go back to them. Like,
Oh.
your college friends, like, that's not who's gonna be,
Okay.
like, your ride or die, like, it's gonna be your high school friends. That's a potential interpretation. I was confused by it as well. I thought she was, like, a little bit out there sometimes.
That's a stance one could take. Interesting.
No, I was confused too. I'm not
Okay.
committed
I was
to
just like,
that.
did I miss something? I didn't get why she was bringing that up. But
She was weird. She brought up a lot of weird shit.
yeah. But yeah, Julie says that it's not like that for her. And the lawyer presses her, asks her why. Julie says that she had a lot of boyfriends in high school, but for reasons that she didn't want to get into, which I wish she would have, but for reasons she didn't want to get into, she didn't have a lot of friends, like girlfriends. So then this random guy says, "Oh, you're one of those guy chicks. Like, you're a sex toy." And Felicity and Julie are both rightly offended by that because that is gross. Like, yeah, he introduces himself because Julie was like, "I don't even know your name. Like, who are you? Why are you calling me a sex toy?" I already forget his name because I just didn't want to. I
Dennis.
didn't want to give him any more attention than he deserved. So he was like, "Oh, I'm not like insulting you. Like, I dated women like you. Like, rock on, support it." And that was just gross. But I do really wish that we had heard from Julie why she didn't have a lot of girlfriends in high school. So then Julie says that so Felicity was her first real best friend, like best girlfriend. So that's why she was so surprised by what Felicity did. And I will add here, like, oh, so she was your first real girlfriend, but you also dated your first real best friend's crush, who like you knew she like moved to New York for. So again, I'm just like, this doesn't really hold up, like, which, we'll get to that. And then Felicity chimes in that she also didn't have girlfriends either, or boyfriends for that matter, in high school because she was a total basket case. Like that was like a year ago, but okay. So yeah, the other passengers mentioned like, well, why are you guys traveling together if you hate each other so much? And they mentioned that they just happened to get on the same train today. And Felicity says, yeah, I was headed to the Modern. Julie says, oh wow, me too. So Mimi chimes in and says, well, maybe you two are the reason that the train stopped. And like the whole purpose is like for them to help them reunite. And I love this little hint of like mysticism, a little magical realism again that like runs through some of the episodes in this show. Just like the force and the clove and all of that. Like I just love that there's always this little mystery where it's like it could just be it's a coincidence or yeah maybe there was a little bit of fate or magic whatever you want to call it in your own world and what you believe, but I loved that it was like it was fate, something was meant to happen.
Yes. So this is 1,000%. I can give Kurt the credit for this a million bajillion percent. He said it was like Lost. This whole thing reminded him of Lost, specifically because it was a bunch of people from varying backgrounds all kind of trapped in the same space, and they all have different, opinions, different backgrounds, different values, all that. And then I was like, oh, Kurt, do you think it's a synchronicity? Because he talks about that all the time. He's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, what? And he's like, nah, it's just a coincidence. I'm like, yeah, but if all this and that didn't happen, Noel and Ruby would not have been able to connect the way that they did at that time. So I was like, and then he did elevate it to a synchronicity at that point. So our collaboration, we determined that it was a synchronicity, but it was 1,000% him. He was like, oh yeah, it's like such a lost kind of vibe to it because they're
That's
all
so
like stuck
true. Because
together
at
and
the
they're all
end,
different.
Ruby even says, like, thank
Yes.
God. That's
Yes.
so, I love that. I almost like got chills just now. Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And he even said, like, even like zooming in on her eyeball when she was drawing it, like that even was like such a like J.J. Abrams kind of vibe.
Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. They've got a scene in the 5th dimension where it's just like a big eyeball. Anyway, that's my Disney nerdiness.
That's scary.
I love that, Kurt. Thank you. I'll say it again. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, it's totally due.
And yes,
I'll do
for
to
the
him.
listeners, as you probably remember, we mentioned J.J. Abrams would go on to create Lost later in his career. So yeah, I love that you can see like the early signs of his thinking and his creative work that comes later.
Yeah, definitely.
And just continuing a little bit with some of that mystery that JJ loves. The bald guy is now tripping balls on his pills, but he looks out the window and says, "It's the mole people, the moles." So all of the passengers get up to the window, they look out the window and they see like they basically just look like punk goth people, like they just went to a, death metal show or something. So we see them walking through the tunnels of the subway, and one of them is Megan, and I absolutely died laughing. And she even sees Felicity in the window and gives her that classic eye roll look of disgust. It was hilarious. And I love that Megan is one of the mole people.
God, I laughed so hard when I saw that. It was hilarious.
That was amazing. That was such a great twist.
And like we keep just getting like little tiny breadcrumbs of her life outside of just, the 2 seconds we see of her in the dorm room, and I love it.
She's so mysterious.
She is. So then back at Dean and Deluca, Ben is just about to leave his shift when Maggie stops by and says to him that she just realized what a complete jerk she was to him. Like, really? It took you that long after he like reamed you out the other day? Like, now you just realized that? But Ben smiles his little smile and says that it's fine. And she tells him that she liked what he said, that it was totally merited. Like, okay, lady. So she needs to calm down now. But she says that she's here to invite him to the party. She even says, she's like, "I'd like to see you there, Ben." Like using his
Creepy.
name to him.
She's grooming him.
Yeah.
Ew. Okay.
Yeah, she laid it on thick. I'm like, you were jerk to him for multiple days, and now you're flirting with him. Okay.
She's into some weird shit.
So yeah, she invites Ben to the party.
So he did his classic little Ben gulp when she invited him formally. Like, so at first, like, he was like kind of just smiley, but then when she's like, "I want to see you there, Ben," he did a gulp. He totally did. So that was just the only thing I noticed about that. I was like, oh shit.
I failed to look at his neck and breathing again this episode.
I'll never
sorry.
not look at his neck. I'm scrutinizing every inch.
Then we go to Noel's apartment. Ruby and Noel have made their way there now after probably getting some food, and they're on the floor looking at a model of some kind of building. I don't know if he's taking an architecture class now or something, but he's talking about some 3D design software that he uses, but that sometimes he just likes to get his soft hands dirty. I was like, yeah, you do, Noel.
Yeah, that was real rough, like, and rugged.
I loved it. It was so cute. And Ruby says, she kind of like gets up off the floor and gets right close to in front of him and says, "Well, have you ever used Zap glue?" It's her favorite type of glue. So she sits close to him and they inch closer and closer. She explains that like you take the first part, you touch it with the second part, whatever. No one cares what Zap glue is. They start making out. And he rolls her on top of his model and breaks it, but it's fine. He'll just use Zap glue, and then they keep making out.
Cute.
And again, I just thought it was very cute. I liked their whole date.
Yeah, they were really cute together. Definitely, I thought they were adorable. And Ruby was such a little goofus too, just like a innocent, sweet, adorable little goofball. Like the two of them together. It was cute. Yeah.
And she also feels a little more carefree, like also kind of the opposite of Felicity, like maybe another overcorrect, maybe not an overcorrection, but
Then
it's another like way opposite Felicity because like, yeah, she was a little stressed out about her computer and she was going to drop her class, but like it just doesn't feel so heavy too with Ruby.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I've
silly
said it
banter.
before. I love Ruby. Ruby and Noel
Easy
are so
breezy.
cute together. I like them as a couple. And I think it's just also
Yeah.
refreshing to have like a new character in the mix where it's not like the triangle all the time.
Yeah, like one of the dating or like one of their friends that they already know.
Mhm.
Don't recycle.
So now it's 6:35 p.m., 5.5 hours underground. I would be having a panic attack by then. Like stuck underground in a subway, no bathroom, no nothing, no water. No, I'd be freaking. I'd be like the bald guy. And so now at this point, the passengers are all arguing. And at one point, another old man who hasn't spoken this whole time, not even sure if we saw his face much the whole time, but he gets up, walks over to the group, and everyone falls silent because, yeah, this guy who hasn't spoken the whole time is about to say something. And he tells them, the way I see it, you two best friends were never best friends to begin with. Felicity starts to interrupt, says, actually, we were. He says, no. If I'm understanding this right, and I think I am, you met when you were both seriously lonely and a little desperate, when you needed a best friend. You shared a few things together, started to refer to each other as best. But that was premature, because what you had never really earned that title. He says that he had a best friend for 63 years. They played in the minors together, went to war together. He says you can't get a best friend. Best friends become, they don't happen in just a year or two. He says that the friendships, they're only as valuable as what you put in and come through. And judging something like that after 1 year, even if you have all the facts, it's like looking for the final score before you've even seen the second inning. He says, I don't think you were best friends to begin with. And I just like to say thank you, finally.
Preach.
I don't really think that I thought much about their like friendship really until we did this pod, and I had to really scrutinize season 1 and every episode and every conversation and interaction. But yeah, that now on this rewatch, even though I've rewatched it so many times, like this was the first time that I really felt like they were frenemies more than anything else. And I feel like we've all been saying throughout season 1, like, do these girls even like each other? Are they really friends? Because her friendship with Noel, her friendship with Elena, like all of those to me felt more authentic than her quote unquote best friendship with Julie.
Yes. I feel like the old man represents Sally. I think he's like like a stand-in for Sally since we don't get to hear her all the time, and Felicity clearly didn't come to her own self-realization at this point. Like she's not memorizing things really beautifully herself. So I think he was a nice stand-in for Sally.
So the old man sits back down and says that one of two things is going to happen. You'll either come through this and you'll get on your way to what you thought you were before, or you'll become memories that will fade into nothing. And then we hear the conductor on the loudspeaker. He mumbles something that the problems have been cleared, and the subway starts moving. And I was like, oh, metaphor? Like, oh, problems are resolved, which maybe a little early to say that, but I just thought that was interesting phrasing too. I had the subtitles on, so I think he said like something about the problems have been cleared. I was like, oh, interesting. And yeah, everyone's happy that the subway is moving again, but Felicity definitely looks, and her and Julie look pensive about what the old man has said.
I thought it was even deeper than that. Like so you've described the conductor as mumbling, and I'll give that to you, but I feel like it wasn't just a mumbling, it was like a garbled, distorted speech. Like there was a distortion, like an audio distortion. So it wasn't like he just like didn't know how to enunciate. Like it was distorted. And when
it's like subway like like you can't understand anything.
Yeah, you do the most amazing impressions. that was dead on.
I missed my calling, I guess.
That's perfect. Yeah, but it's like we could understand him very clearly. So it was like a clarity, like it was much more clear. And they had literally started moving forward at that point. So it was like a couple little layers of metaphor in there. But I thought that it was perfect that it was so distorted before, and so it's like you could think about that like distorted perspectives the whole time. and then there's clarity with this guy's profound knowledge, the truth he's dropping, and then all of a sudden you can hear clearly, like the language is more clear to interpret, and it's like everything makes sense. And then they literally move forward. I loved it.
Yeah. Then we get back from commercial break, and Felicity and Julie and the other passengers finally are getting out of the subway car. And we see a lot of the cast of the characters, like the lone guy comes out and tells them good luck. Now he's in better spirits and doesn't tell them to shut the fuck up. Now he's like, good luck to you guys. And the lawyer comes up to him, is like, hey, if you need help with that loan, give me a call. Blonde lady Karen.
No, her name's Judith.
Oh,
Her name's Judith.
Okay. So yeah, Judith says, like, if it doesn't work out between you two, it wasn't meant to be. Larry Beale from Even Stevens comes out and says, yeah, that song was cold. To Julie as he leaves. And the vendor, of course, is still trying to sell stuff. Now he's selling umbrellas because it could be raining up there.
I can
So
appreciate that hustle.
Yeah. Never know. I mean, he can see an opportunity. So Felicity and Julie go up above ground finally. And Julie says that it's been a really weird day. And it's a little awkward between them still. So yeah, like maybe a little premature. I don't know if everything's clear, all the problems have been solved, but clearly, yeah, there's something to move forward now. Maybe there's a new revelation. So Felicity asks Julie if she wants to get a cup of coffee. Julie says no, though. She's going to go back to the loft and says, I'll see ya. So Felicity tells Sally that she and Julie spent hours in a subway car underground, but it didn't necessarily come out well. After what she did to Julie, all she can do is ask for forgiveness, and the rest is up to Julie. And I was like, yes, that is true. You can't force Julie to like become best friends again.
No?
Even though Felicity really wants everyone to think and feel the way she does. So
Well, Felicity doesn't like conflict either. Like
I
one of
know.
us here doesn't like conflict.
I know. I know. So then Felicity says, even if they weren't real best friends, she still misses her, which is also fair.
Yeah.
So Felicity's back in her room, and there's a knock at the door, and it's Ruby. She asks Felicity where she was. Felicity says, oh, subway car, broke down. Ruby says, thank God, because could Noel Crane be any cuter? She does the Chandler bang. Could Noel Crane be any cuter? And she's swooning. She says that he's this nerdy graphic design type, but also with a stud body, and that almost never happens. Felicity awkwardly is like, yeah, he's pretty cute. Ruby says he's also the most amazing kisser. And Felicity again, just like, okay, cool. What do I say? So Ruby asks her, though, like, I know you're friends, but just don't say anything to Noel. She just wants to keep things simple. But oh my God, what a hottie. And
What a
so Felicity, yeah, I agree, Ruby. You and me, girl. We get it. So Felicity at first seems, a little uncomfortable, or maybe that wistfulness again, but then eventually says that she's happy for Ruby. Ruby says, yeah, me too. And Ruby leaves.
I thought that was interesting. Yeah, weird. I'm glad that Julie didn't agree to go get coffee. Like, I'm glad it wasn't like after school special, like we're gonna resolve this in a half hour type of thing. Like, no,
Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Skip
like
to the coffee shop.
get matching outfits and get her nails done together. Like, no, it's not that simple. So I'm glad that that was a little bit more based in reality. Out of all the things that happened in this episode, that was the most rooted in reality, I think. And what do you think about Felicity and that be like, yeah, we totally dated and we totally like broke up very recently. Like, what do you think about her sitting on that and not telling Ruby, like, and why? Like, would you have done that? What do you think about her doing that?
I would have
Like,
said something, but I probably wouldn't have been like, oh, we were in love and like given the whole story. I would have
No.
mentioned like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
just so you know, like we dated, but there's nothing
Mhm.
there anymore. Like it was weird that she didn't say anything.
Don't worry, girl. Yes. Yeah, I didn't like that. I thought that was wild. Like 0 words about it were acknowledged because like she's gonna find out potentially. Like if like they do, if Noel and her get serious, like at some point you'd be like, oh yeah, Felicity and I used to date. Like I don't think they would keep that a secret from her forever. Like that's a weird thing to keep a secret. And maybe she didn't want to burst her bubble, but like I thought that was odd that she didn't acknowledge it at all.
I think one of the problems is that even last episode, when there was the whole computer thing, she could have also mentioned it then.
Yeah. So
I think like she had already, it's almost like she should have mentioned it before
Yeah, now
already,
it's
and
too
then
late.
she didn't. And now it's like, it's just one of those things where like you keep avoiding it, and then it's just going to turn into a bigger problem. And then it feels like a lie or like an omission, lie by omission, right? So it's like, she could have just said, oh, you know what? I don't really want to introduce you to Noel because we dated and we just broke up. Like, he's my ex. Things are kind of weird right now. So thanks, Megan, but butt out. Like, she could have said something right then and didn't and just kind of avoided it. So I think she probably feels like, oh, now it feels like I kept it from her, but now it's still going to just get worse if she doesn't mention anything. So I think, yeah, she's kind of gotten herself into a pickle there.
That's a good point, because I thought that was really fucking stupid last time, too. But she didn't say anything
Yeah.
then. Because, like, she didn't even have to say, like, don't go talk to him. All she had to say was, like, tell him Megan sent you. Like, leave me out of it.
Yeah, or like, I don't really want to intro you because we're not friends right now because we just broke up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's embarrassing. Like, you know, like, Ruby's going to feel
Yeah.
real stupid when she'll be like, what? I mean, you let me go on, and, like, you
Yep.
didn't tell me. Like, I feel like such a fool. Like, why did
Now
you
it's a
just...
problem.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you're a little bit dug in the hole now, but if you're going to get out, now's the time, not when the hole's bigger, 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 bigger. Full.
You're going to be shocked at this, but I also think Noel could
course.
say something.
Oh, no,
But-
yeah, totally.
Yeah, like he invited Ruby to go with them. Like, he could, but also in his mind, even in the beginning of the episode, he's like, it's not like we're dating. So like, he might not even think that Ruby's interested because he thinks he's a nerd, right? And is insecure. So he's probably
Right.
like, she doesn't even like me that way. So
Yeah.
why is like, oh, by the way, Felicity and I dated. Like, maybe that was premature and weird.
I can
So-
say that after they make out, like, they come up for
Yeah,
each-
like,
by the
oh,
way,
now I
here's
should
his
tell
ex.
you.
Yeah.
So I think it's just Felicity
yeah.
could have done it earlier.
I think so. I think it was
Yeah.
more her place, because Ruby's the one confiding in Felicity about everything. And yeah, like, Noel could have, but I don't think there was a really, really good opportunity for Noel to do it, that it would have made a lot of sense for him to do it, where I'd be like, oh my God, Noel, why didn't you say something? I'm like, no,
Or
Felicity, why
in his
didn't you say
apology
something?
to Ruby, and he was like, yeah, I'm sorry I treated you, I'm sorry I was a jerk. Like, we just broke up. Things are sensitive
Yes,
between me
that
and
would have been
like,
it.
that could have been an opportunity too. But again, like, they weren't
But
dating. There was nothing there yet between them.
But just an apology for the sake of
Yeah.
explaining why he was a jerk, besides like his little friend Richard being, in his ear.
Being Richard.
Yeah, Richard being Richard.
Yeah. So then we get some nice piano music and we go to the party at the loft, not Sean's loft, but Maggie's friend's loft party. And it's very fancy. There's champagne. Everyone's dressed up. We got this piano player. Ben is on the couch talking to Maggie. He's wearing a suit. She's laughing at all his jokes and touching his arm. And I thought the suit was funny because it felt like he was, it sounds bad. I don't mean this as an insult, but it just like felt like he was playing dress up. Like he was trying to, it just didn't fit for me. Like him wearing the suit.
I was like, where did he even get a fucking suit on such short
Yeah.
notice? Like, why does he even have one at college? Like, how did he, who helped him get a suit? Like, there's no way he packed that and brought it with him from Palo Alto. I don't believe that at all. How did he get a suit?
Sean?
Who told him to
Sean.
wear a suit? Like, Sean's a knucklehead. Sean
That
can wear
contemptible
suits.
casual look.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, you're right. Sean probably would have been like, are you wearing that? And like probably would have helped him, but like he wouldn't have been able to borrow something from Sean because they're not the same size. We should have seen a montage of him trying on a bunch of clothes is what we should have seen. We should have seen a montage of him trying on a bunch of suits and like the pretty woman, music in
Ben
the
would never
background.
do a montage.
Oh man.
He's too
Fuck.
cool for a montage.
Yet again, another missed opportunity, writers. Fucked.
Yeah.
Oh, but
But yeah, I don't know. It just it felt like he was playing a part or it was playing dress up, playing pretend a little bit. Didn't feel
think so.
authentic.
I didn't
I
think
mean,
so.
obviously he
Surprise,
looked
surprise.
hot.
I know you loved it, but
Had to spend moments. Yeah.
in the suit? Oh.
Oh. The hottest fun moment for me was when he made the
Oh,
brownie
okay.
jokes. I know I was like going on about how cheesy he was, but I am here for that.
Wait, the cookie crisis or the like, oh, what the, could I
Can I-
understand that you like brownies?
And he was like, oh yeah, can I handle it? You like brownies? Yeah. I was like, yes. Because you know what? Coincidentally, brownies are my favorite dessert. So that actually would have melted me. But I actually thought that aside from my confusion of where he even acquired a suit and how that came to be on his person, I did feel like he was holding his own in that space. Like, I thought he did look very natural and like he was, having a back and forth conversation and being entertaining and engaging. And she was laughing at him, with him at whatever jokes or stories, whatever. I thought he looked very engaging and like comfortable. Like, I didn't feel like he was coming off like awkward or playing pretend. I just thought it was odd that he even had a suit to put on his body.
Yeah, I don't think he was awkward. I just thought that like it felt a little bit like dress up or like the Noel, trench coat Noel, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
a little more mature than maybe you
Mm-hmm.
really are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
We'll
was
see.
impressed that he was holding his own in that space. Like I said, like I was like, yeah, it was surprising because I wouldn't
I would have been
expect that from
intimidated.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Me too. Like I still am, and I'm in my fucking 40s, and I wouldn't be okay in that kind of environment. Like oh my god, I don't even want to think about it. And that's probably why I was so impressed with his ability to handle himself from what we could see. You know, obviously we couldn't hear the conversation, but just the body language and everything. And I really liked that music that was playing, and I looked it up because I wanted to see like if it was like a hard miss from the original, and it was a very, very, very similar song. It's like almost to me, my untrained ear, it was indistinguishable. Like I couldn't tell the difference between the original one and the one that they subbed in.
It gave me season 1 vibes. Like when she goes to the counselor and there's like this moody, jazzy piano playing. I don't know. It gave me
I
season
love
1
that
vibes.
shit. I
Yeah.
love that sound so much. Oh my gosh, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Great ending.
So then
But
the
there's
music
more.
continues to play and we switch back to Felicity, who finally goes to the modern. And of course, Julie happens to be there too, because that's where she was headed before. So Julie comes up to Felicity and admits that that song was really mean. Felicity says, yeah, a little. Like, but like you said, free speech. So now they're both giving, I guess, a little bit to meet in the middle here. And Julie says that she's not going to play it anymore, which is good. So then
Yeah.
they're both staring at
Gee,
a
thanks.
painting. Yeah. So they're both staring at a photograph, and Julie says, "This is really great, isn't it?" Felicity says, "Yeah," as the episode ends. And question, are they talking about the art or are they talking about them being friends again? Or at least mending things again. This is really great, isn't it?
I think it was just the art.
Oh,
Oh.
you're breaking my heart.
No, I've got more. Don't worry.
Okay.
I don't
Gotta
know.
say it.
I don't know the
It's
answer to that question. I think it's about them, their friendship.
I mean, I think it could sub in as like the symbolism of that, but I think they were genuinely like just maybe having some common ground and admiring the photographs. I don't think that they were, directly being like, yes, like we're on the same page again. I think the part of them was like, yeah, that was me. I'm not going to play it. Yeah, thanks.
Mm.
I think that was it. And then the rest of it was just like, okay, we're going to act like normal people who have something in common now. Like they're going to just kind of get neutral and go forward. Like it doesn't have to be so loaded and charged anymore. They can both admire the same thing next to each other, and it's not a conflict. Like they're in agreement about that. And I don't think it was like they were speaking to their relationship, but I think it was a metaphor for the relationship starting to get repaired from its rupture. And I liked the framing of the shot. They were kind of in like framed in the threshold, like that doorway, like if you were looking on face on. And it makes them look closer than if that had just been a wide open space and there wasn't that threshold framing them. It makes them look like they're coming together closer. So I thought that was clever. And Kurt was like, that hand reaching out means something, but we couldn't figure it out. Because I absolutely asked him.
I was like, Melissa, is this a famous artist? I don't even know how to look up like who would. Yeah,
I was trying to look it up too. Yeah. I didn't have time.
I don't even know how to look it up. But I'm like, what is the symbolism from this photo here?
I don't know.
It looked like he was behind bars or something. Like at first I didn't notice, but it seemed like he was behind and his hand was reaching out through the bars, maybe.
At first I thought it was Dennis. Like it
it looked like him a little bit.
It looked like that guy.
It looked a little bit, yeah, but I don't think it was. But it looked kind of like him.
It was not, but yeah, I was just like, wait, is that? No. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does mean something. Like, it's a mystery.
Yeah, I couldn't even formulate any words around it other than it's like reaching out like I want some help, or reaching out like I'm going to support you, or just like a gesture like I'm offering an olive branch kind of thing. Like, I don't know.
Oh, it gave me more like no photos, like paparazzi,
That
like no
too.
photos. That's what it gave me. And then again, I was like, I don't know how to tie that.
I couldn't decide either because the way his hand is, I couldn't tell if it was reaching out or pushing away. And maybe that's kind of the point. Oh my God, maybe it's like an optical illusion thing where like
solved it.
Oh my God, it just came to me. Oh my gosh, yeah, because it looks like it's doing both. And they do have this push-pull tension right now where like they are coming together, but there is still a little bit of a like a guardedness to them. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! See how good this episode was? You can't deny it now. They
No, I
sealed
think
it.
there is a lot here. I definitely didn't hate it this time around. So yeah, I mean, that was the end of the episode. Everyone's friends again. Felicity
Yeah.
and Noel have made up. Julie and Ben have made up. Now Julie and Felicity have made up. So yay. Now we can move on from all the things that happened in season 1 and over the summer. I do think my last criticism, because again, I didn't hate it this time around. I think there was a lot more here, and I appreciated like some of the mysticism, and I do love the mole people thing. But I do actually kind of wish it was a full-on bottle episode now of just them underground, because I think for me that would have felt more like we were all trapped down there with them, instead of like here and there still popping up above ground, seeing what's happening with Ben, seeing what's happening with Noel. Like, I get that they have to set up Ben and Noel's next arcs for their storylines, but I feel like there could have been more, like Julie talking about why she didn't have friends in high school that were girls. Like, oh, I don't want to get into that right now. I'm like, well, then why are you bringing it up? You know, like I wish there was somewhat a little bit more on some of those issues, and it would have really felt like we were all trapped down there with them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I love that. And I've already texted to you a million times, and to Kurt for that matter. This episode reminded me a lot of the movie 12 Angry Men. Like all the people debating and having these different opinions, and like people from different walks of life, and they're all trapped in one room and they're trying to figure something out. And it felt like that. And it would have definitely felt even more like that and more heightened if we never got a break from them. So it would have ramped up the intensity. I'm not sure if that's really something you would have wanted. It would have.
I mean, but it might have been more.
Sure.
It might have been more impactful. I don't know.
It would have been, yeah.
And because you were talking about 12 Angry Men, when the old man stood up at the end and they all just kind of quieted and he did his little soliloquy, I was like, that at that point, I was like, this feels like a play, this episode, So yeah, I feel like it might have been better as a bottle episode. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that would have been really cool.
But then we wouldn't have seen Noel and Ruby's cute little date.
I know, but they could have done that in the next episode. I don't know.
But that would have been like a flashback, like, oh, well, y'all were stuck on a train. This is what happened, and they could have just like replayed it, like told it, like that would have been a little bit obnoxious.
But like you and Kurt said, them getting stuck in the subway is what allowed them to connect like that. So
we did need to.
I'll allow
that.
it. Yeah.
I know. I'm kind of torn between the two concepts as well, because I do think that would have been amazing to just be forced to be trapped with them. And I do appreciate that we got to see, what was going on in the real world, like above ground, and seeing things develop and with, the different people. That was fun. It was enlightening.
Yeah. It was creative. I liked it this time around.
Good.
I had put it off for so long. I was like, oh, not this episode. And I actually liked it.
And would you rate it now? Like out of 10, what would you give it? IMDb said it was say 22. What's your rating?
Maybe 6.5 to 7.
From a -3, I'll take it.
Yeah. From a I skip it every time to a 6 or 7.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I'd take it.
Melissa's like, I still hate it.
It's still hot trash, but I'm glad you like it. That's fine.
What do you still dislike about it?
I think I just still I still never really like Julie even after this. So it was like,
yeah,
I think, yeah, I don't know. I just never got over her. Yeah.
Still feels kind of bratty. Yeah.
That's totally fair. I can see that. Like, this is just more evidence that she sucks.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm talking about? Look how she reacted this whole time. And this,
But the one good thing, I was reminded of a movie that I saw many years ago starring Terry Polo and Andrew McCarthy on Hallmark. It was so good. Oh my God, I have to look up what it's called. But he was like a horse guy, and she like goes out into Montana. She's like a business lady in the movie, and then she goes to Montana and like helps on his horse ranch, and then of course they fall in love. But really good movie.
This sounds like a great Hallmark movie. Yeah,
highly recommend.
I love it. Oh, well, what's that called? So now I gotta watch Don't Look Under the Bed. Is that what it was called?
Don't Look Under the Bed, Before Sunrise, and now we have to look up what this is.
Straight from the Heart.
A lot of
Straight from the Heart. That's what it's called.
Oh, I was like 4 Cousins and a Christmas. I was just looking at her IMDb.
Yeah, like the Christmas Heart.
There's also the Christmas Shepherd, Mr. Maple Leaf. Oh, that's a short. The Christmas Heart, Christmas Angel. has done a lot of Christmas Hallmark movies. A Taste of Romance.
Last winter, I got really fixated on Hallmark Christmas movies. It was really problematic. It was so bad. Like, I was watching the same movie on repeat, but I found out like there was a series of movies, and I was like, I feel like it was, let me see, I think it was Vivica A. Fox did like a bajillion of these movies, but she was a different character in all of them. So I was like, sure, I'll get on board with that. Yeah, it was good. You know, Christmas is coming early this year. Just kidding. I'm ready for Halloween. I've been celebrating Halloween since July 5th, like a normal human does.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Don't Look Under the Bed will be the perfect movie for you then right now.
That'll be the perfect way to end my weekend and move into Monday.
On that note, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Next time, we are in a post-love triangle world. Who knows what will happen? So, can't wait to chat about the next one with you all. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Felicity Was Here is produced, written, and edited by Heather, Melissa, and Dr. Joe. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Felicity Was Here Pod. If you're enjoying the pod, please leave us a review and help us spread the word. We appreciate you and would love to hear from Felicity superfans like us. So send us your feedback, ask us your burning questions, or just say hey at felicitywasherepod@gmail.com. We may even read your note in a future episode.